أحب الله والإسلام والقرآن والجنة، أحب جحافل الإيمان ترفع راية السنة. أحب الله والإسلام والقرآن والجنة، أحب جحافل الإيمان ترفع راية السنة.
ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Look at the righteous in their da'wah. Abu Bakr goes days into Islam. He comes back with 5 of the 10 people granted places in Jannah. Uthman ibn Affan, Zubayr ibn al-Awam, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, and Talha ibn Ubaidillah. 5 within days of the Islam of Abu Bakr. What knowledge at that point did Abu Bakr have? What knowledge at that point did Abu Bakr have of one reward for one to convey Islam? Abu Bakr at that point knew La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. So he went with that. What reward was there for one who brings others into Islam? Islam was days old. He goes and brings 5 of people who were later 5 of the 10 people who were granted places in heaven. There was possibly, most likely, no hadith at that point detailing the reward on bringing others to Islam as we have today. Like the one we mentioned about Ali ibn Abi Talib, and like what Prophet ﷺ's life and the Sahaba's life in Dawah. Something Abu Bakr understood, that Islam was his life and goal. When Islam is your life and goal, you speak about it, you convey it, you bring others to it. That's common sense. And that's what motivated Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anh to bring others into this righteous religion. Do you see one of the reasons why the iman of Abu Bakr is more than the iman of the ummah? Because Abu Bakr had the upper hand in getting your forefathers, the forefathers of Islam, to embrace Islam. Abu Bakr. The Prophet ﷺ brought Abu Bakr to Islam. Abu Bakr brought some of the biggest forefathers of Islam to embrace Islam. That's in addition, of course, to his blind support and belief in the message of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet, he got this high honor and ranking of his iman being so much and his deed being so much. He brought Uthman to Islam. He brought and showed him the way to Islam. Uthman later became the third Khalifa. Uthman did so much that we can talk about for weeks and weeks to come. Who gets all the reward? Uthman gets it. And then, because Abu Bakr brought him to Islam, Abu Bakr gets it as well. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, in his achievements. You all know the achievements of Abdurrahman ibn Auf, and they're numerous. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, the man who took Islam from Medina all the way down to Iraq, all the way down to Persia. Today, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas rests in his grave with the reward of billions and billions and billions of Muslims in the regions he opened for Islam. And guess who gets the reward? He gets the reward, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, and likewise, Abu Bakr gets the reward, not a tiny less bit than that. The hadith we mentioned, we have to apply the hadith we mentioned. Whoever points someone to righteousness, he gets the reward of that. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas gets the reward of everyone from Medina down to Persia to Iraq. And so does Abu Bakr. That's just 5 of the 10 people that he brought to, 5 people who were granted places in heaven. He brought Bilal. And imagine the reward of Bilal and the sacrifices Bilal did and the achievements he did. Bilal gets some and Abu Bakr gets some. Now Abu Bakr is in his grave and he gets the reward. At-Tufail ibn Amr al-Dawsi, The long story of how they were warned. Tufail ibn Amr al-Dawsi, Tufail ibn Amr al-Dawsi was a leader of his tribe. So Quraysh warned him so much not to follow the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because they knew if he followed the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his tribe is going to follow him. And they had dealings with him that they didn't want to breach or to affect their dealing with him. So he ended up, after a long story, we don't have time to get into, he embraced Islam. Did he recline back? Did he kick back and say, I embraced Islam, I'm a leader of a tribe, and that's it? This is in the early days of Islam. It's obvious, it's common sense that if you truly have a belief in something, you go and convey it. He goes on to his father as soon as he goes back to his tribe. He tells him Islam. His father tells him, Dini dinak. My religion is your religion. Then he goes to his family members, one by one, and they embrace Islam. And among those who embraced Islam is Abu Hurairah. Abu Hurairah is from his tribe. At-Tufail ibn Amr al-Dawsi, among those who he got to embrace Islam is Abu Hurairah, our man of hadith, our man of many achievements. So every time you read a hadith, and how many times do we say radiyallahu anhu? Every time you read a hadith by Abu Hurairah and you make dua for him, the same goes to At-Tufail ibn Amr al-Dawsi. Daws is his tribe. They gave At-Tufail, their leader, a hard time, and they gave him a hard time in embracing Islam. So At-Tufail went back to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, O Prophet of Allah, make dua on my tribe, Daws. I want you to make dua on them. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wise, kind, da'iyah, rahmah lil alameen, he said, Allahumma hdi Daws. Allahumma hdi Dawsan. Allahumma hdi Dawsan. And he said, go back to your people and convey. So he went back to his people and he conveyed. He went back and he began da'wah. Now so suddenly they're accepting the da'wah. So he comes back to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with approximately 80 or 90 clans from his tribe. They all go to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, take their shahada and give commitment. And he stays with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam until the final years when Mecca is conquered. Daws, what I want to tell you is, Daws today is where the south of Saudi is. If you look on a map, the south of Saudi is, that's where it is. You know the accident that I mentioned about the female bride who died with her family members. May Allah have mercy on her and her family and grant those who are living of them patience. That's the area At-Tufail ibn Amr al-Dawsi was in. The tribes there today mostly are known as Zahran, and next to it is the tribes of Ghamid. Today there's hundreds of ulama from the tribes of Zahran and Ghamid. Amongst them is the one you all know, Al-Ghamidi, the one you listen to. He's right in the town right next door where At-Tufail was. At-Tufail now is his grave 30 centuries later approximately or so. He gets reward in his grave for that famous reciter, and there's hundreds of ulama from Ghamid and Zahran or that area where Ad-Daws is. He gets it, At-Tufail ibn Amr al-Dawsi is in his grave getting that reward, and who in return also gets it? The Prophet, of course, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So look at the chain reaction. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes to a barber. He gives da'wah. What comes out of it? In a barber, 6 teenagers at the barber embrace Islam. The next year, these 6 go back, these teenagers, and bring 12. The following year, the 12 bring 73 men and 2 women. The following year, Mus'ab ibn Umayr is sent as an ambassador to Medina to teach him Islam. Then right after that, Mus'ab ibn Umayr sends a message to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the whole of Medina has embraced Islam. You're welcome to come over here. 6 men in a barber shop started this whole thing. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam conveyed message even in a barber shop. And what came out of that is Islam at the end, Islam in Medina. Those teenagers understood that we have to convey this message. A few moments, they sat with the Prophet ﷺ in secrecy and hiding. They took the message and they went on, and they knew under conviction that we got to convey this message. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, the da'wah of Ja'far ibn Abi Talib in Abyssinia, in Africa. He placed the seeds of Islam in Africa. in nearly everyone in Africa who is Muslim, most likely Ja'far ibn Abi Talib gets the reward of it today, because he's the one who went there and conveyed the da'wah and gave the message to An-Najashi, and that's how Islam began to spread in that area. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari and Mu'adh ibn Jabal in Yemen, nearly all these men that we talk about, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, Mu'adh ibn Jabal, and all those, these were men who were in their early prime, their 20s. They were the mu'min of Yasin. You all know the story of Surah Yasin, Mu'min Yasin. Nearly 16 or so verses in the Quran talk about this. Who is this man? Who is this man that Allah documents a story in 16 verses mentioning what happened in his situation? 2 messengers were sent to people, and then they were followed by another. إِذْ أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْهِمُ اثْنَيْنِ فَكَذَّبُوهُمَا فَعَزَّزْنَا بِثَالِثٍ. They threatened their messengers. They threatened that they're going to stone them. They threatened that they're going to torment them. And they said the evil omen that they have is because of their messenger. They attributed that to their messenger. A man didn't kick back and relax. That's the mu'min of Yasin, mu'min al-Yasin. The man didn't kick back and relax and say, it's not my business. They got messengers. That's not my business. A man that is known to be righteous comes from the furthest part of town. He hears about what's going on. He comes from the furthest part of town. وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى. The Aqsa is the furthest part of town. He comes running. He comes from Aqsa al-Madinah. He comes running. They kill him. He killed him. His heart is attached to da'wah even in the life after. His heart is attached to rescuing people. And he tells, when he's granted places in heaven, قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. They tell him, you're granted to go to heaven. قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Allah tells him, قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ بِمَا غَفَرَ لِي رَبِّي وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُكْرَمِينَ. يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ بِمَا غَفَرَ لِي رَبِّي وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُكْرَمِينَ. Enter paradise. He said, I wish my people knew. Even in the life after, his mind is still with his people, trying to get them to be rescued. You see how da'wah is when it becomes part of someone? He said, I wish I can tell my people how Allah forgave me and made me among those who are honored. So possibly, of course, they can follow in their footsteps and get the honor that I have. I wish I could go back. I wish I can go back. I wish I can make da'wah to them and let them know. He's told to enter heaven and his mind is back there trying to convey this message to his people. قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. If examples of messengers, if examples that we're supposed to follow, Sahaba and humans, are not enough to inspire you for da'wah, then take the examples of jinn. Even jinn have da'wah and are strong in their da'wah. Look what Allah says about them in the Quran, the jinn. Ya qawmana ajibu. When a group of them embraced Islam and followed the Prophet ﷺ, did they just sit back silent? Ya qawmana ajibu da'i Allah. Ya qawmana ajibu da'i Allah wa aminu bihi yaghfir lakum min dunubikum wa yujirkum min adhabin alim. The jinn were moved to convey this message as soon as they believed in it. As soon as they believed in the message, they wanted to convey it. And this was the jinn. Our people respond. That's what the jinn said. Respond to the call of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Respond to the call of the messenger of Allah by believing in him. Ya qawmana ajibu da'i Allah wa aminu bih. And then they go on to say, you believe in him, Allah will forgive you and grant you this and that. So basic point is, the jinn themselves wanted to convey the da'wah. If all that messengers, Sahaba, now the jinn is not enough to inspire you to do da'wah, then even the animals have da'wah. The story of the hudhud, the hippo in the Quran, when Sulaiman had a military march and ordered all his soldiers to be at the march, he noticed a bird was missing. A bird goes from Yemen to Palestine, from Yemen to Palestine. or from Palestine actually to Yemen, and then back, ordains the good and forbids the evil. He's late to the march. It's organized by Sulaiman. So Sulaiman alayhi salam said, I'm going to punish him by torment or slaughter. He soon after comes back. Where was he doing? He was doing da'wah. He comes back late. He says, أحطت بما لم تحط به وجئتك من سبأ بنبأ يقين. I got some news for you. He was on a da'wah mission. He says, hold up. Hold up, Sulaiman. I grasped that which you don't know about. I grasped knowledge you don't know about. I've been forbidding the good, forbidding the evil, and ordaining the good. What is it? What do you have? إني أحطت بما لم تحط به وجئتك من سبأ بنبأ يقين إني وجدت امرأة تملكهم وأوتيت من كل شيء ولها عرش عظيم وجدتها وقومها يسجدون للشمس من دون الله. I found a woman ruling over some people. She'd been given all things that one could be given. And she possessed that which no other ruler has possessed. And she has a great throne. Then people were worshipping the sun. وَجَدْتُهَا وَقَوْمَهَا يَسْجُدُونَ لِلشَّمْسِ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Her and her people were prostrating and believing and worshipping the sun. It can't be silent. A bird says, I can't be silent. I see them doing shirk. I can't be silent. They need to be worshipping the Lord, the Supreme Lord, the Lord of the Supreme Throne, Allah. In conclusion, after you hear all that, there is a difference between a real flower that gives us a scent and a plastic flower that looks good, but only carries the name flower. There's a difference between the two. The real flower, you put it in your house, it has a nice scent, it looks better. But you also got a plastic flower, it looks very good, but there's a huge difference between the plastic and the real flower. The Muslim with no da'wah, the Muslim who doesn't ordain the good and forbid the evil, it's like that plastic flower. Looks good, he's still Muslim. We're not saying he's not Muslim. Looks good too, because a Muslim's always good, inshallah. However, he's like that plastic flower. The one who ordains the good and forbids the evil, and does da'wah, like those we mentioned, the task of the messenger, the tasks of the Sahaba, the tasks of the jinn, and even the tasks of some of the animals. The one who does da'wah is like a real flower that has a scent, and it's more delightful to look at, and it's more preferred to have in your house than a plastic flower. A believer who engages in da'wah, who takes that task upon him, is like a running water. There's a difference. Running water is more pure than still water. If you know about water, running water is always more pure than still water. If water is still, if it's in a pond or in a pool, over time what happens? You got to look at the matter over time. Over time, what happens? It may stay clean for a while in your pool or your pond or any type of still water, even if it's big. For some time, it's going to remain clean. But after a while, it gets tainted. Unlike running water that runs into the oceans, and it's more pure and clean and more clean. Not ordaining the good or doing da'wah. If you don't ordain the good and you don't do da'wah, you're like the still water. You might get tainted after a while. There is no neutral grounds in da'wah. No neutral ground, especially for us in the West. There's no neutral ground. You're either given da'wah, that's how it is. Take that as a rule. There's no neutral grounds in da'wah zone. You can't say, I'm just neutral to myself. You're either given da'wah or you're getting invaded in your belief. The water gets tainted over time, especially in the circumstance that we are in. Be like that clean, running water with a da'iyah, with da'wah to Allah. That clean running water. A believer doesn't want to be still with his religion. He always wants to move and convey and teach others because that is among the noble tasks, the tasks of the messengers.